Welcome to this Learning Microsoft Azure course from Pact Publishing. My name is Peter de Tender. To share a couple of words about myself, you can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is PDTIT. And to share some of my background, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer for a bit more than 10 years in meantime, and overall spending close to 20 years as a Microsoft infrastructure engineer, technical consultant, trainer, Microsoft partner coach. So Microsoft is basically my technical comfort zone. In meantime, I've been working with Azure for about 4 or 5 years and got certified and also a member of the Azure Advisors. Outside of my professional work, so more related to community activities that I'm doing, I became a Microsoft Learning regional lead for Belgium, which means I'm somehow pretty close connected to Microsoft Learning division and building out, managing a community of Microsoft certified trainers for my specific region. I'm also a Microsoft MVP, initially got rewarded in 2013 in the Windows IT Pro category, and then in 2015 moved to the Azure category. I somehow lost my MVP reward since I spent a couple of months within Microsoft Azure Engineering as a full-time employee, and in meantime I'm back to running my own business as a freelance consultant. Working as courseware creator, also working as a technical trainer, like creating this course, and technical writer, which means I've published a couple of books along the years. I started writing in 2013 when I was mainly working around Exchange technologies. This book was published with Pact Publishing and it's still available. In early 2015, I published another book for Pact on this time Mastering Windows Hyper-V 2012 R2. And again, this one is still available. Then I did a funny side project writing an introduction to Azure, which is published through Conversational Geek. And the most recent one I published through Apress was Learning Operations Management Suite. So this course is all about learning Microsoft Azure. The course itself is split up in 11 different sections, and somehow I assume it's pretty logic to you. So we're going to start with section 1, explaining you the basics of cloud computing and giving you an overall Azure overview. Then moving over to section 2, in which I'm introducing you to Azure subscriptions. In section 3, I'm talking about Microsoft Azure Management Portals, giving you the detailed view on the new Azure Resource Manager portal and the old one called the Azure Classic portal. In section 4, everything is around Azure Virtual Machine architecture, deploying virtual machines, building them, knowing what the different technical components are like Azure Virtual Machine, Azure Storage, Azure Compute, and focusing on the new Azure Resource Manager, which is followed by section 5, where I'm talking about deploying, creating Azure Resource Manager templates. So mainly using automation for deploying and managing Azure resources. Section 6 is everything around implementing Azure Identity. So using Azure Active Directory as an identity source, how to build hybrid identity infrastructure using ADFS, using Azure AD Connect and similar tools. In section 7 and section 8, I'm focusing a bit around Operations Management Suite, starting in section 7 with overall Azure monitoring and diagnostics, and then specifically in section 8, diving more into Operations Management Suite and focusing on Azure Disaster Recovery Solutions. So mainly working around Azure Backup and Azure Site Recovery. Section 9, 10, and 11 is completely stepping away from the infrastructure side of Azure and moving to platform services, where section 9 is oriented around SQL services. Section 10, I'm learning you everything around Azure Web Apps and a little bit on mobile apps, and then ending this course with section 11, talking about other Azure Platform as a Service components. Think of big data, Hadoop, open source technologies, and a lot more. So a pretty Pretty heavy course, quite a lot of infrastructure, and then at the end, the last 3 sections moving over to platform services, giving you a pretty broad view on what Azure has to offer today. Although the course is somehow built for any kind of audience, we do assume that you have some kind of background knowledge already. So to give you some highlights, the required knowledge for really understanding and following this course is overall having a working knowledge of on-premises virtualization technologies, or maybe even having experience with some cloud virtualization technologies like Amazon WS. Obviously having experience with networking concepts and technologies, and then for the platform services, having an understanding of websites, web applications, and having understanding of SQL Server database concepts, although I'm also touching a little bit on non-SQL Server based database solutions. And then for the last 2 topics, having knowledge and understanding of Active Directory domain services, where I'm mainly talking about users and groups, which is the knowledge you need to build out a hybrid identity solution using Azure Active Directory. And then for backup and overall Azure recovery solutions, having an understanding of high availability, resilience, and disaster recovery concepts. And I would like to welcome you again in this Learning Microsoft Azure course, and don't hesitate to reach out to me on Twitter. If you have any questions, reach out to the folks within Pact and they'll make sure I'll get your questions answered. Have a good course. Thank you very much.